Hello, this is Campbell Pregame. We're riding some camels this weekend. This is the Maris Football Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Maris Football Network. Matt Suter and Phil Torino join me at the desk. Amanda will be joining us later for Keys to the Game, and Rachel is behind the cameras doing a great job as always. Today on the Maris Football Network, we're going to have an interview from Phil Torino, who was down at the McCann Center earlier this week with the defensive linemen Jim Desautel and Kevin Stark. Also, Calvin McCoy will be joining us in studio. Amanda will be bringing us the Keys to the Game, and always a top-notch analysis brought to you by the Maris Football Network at the end of the show. Now, guys, this weekend against Davidson, Maris got the victory 13-9. Defense still maintained being the number one defense in the Pioneer Football League. Matt, what was the key to the victory for the Red Foxes this weekend?
Well, I thought the defense did a fantastic job. But what the key to the game was for me was that Maris rushed the ball 43 times for over 100 yards, and that made sure to keep the Davidson offense off of the field. So Maris really controlled time of possession, and that's what I think gave them that key to the victory down in North Carolina.
The big picture here for the Red Foxes has to be, I think, snapping this four-game losing skid by capturing the 13-9 victory. The other storyline, of course, was Jason Myers, who set a new school record with a 49-yard field goal. However, a few other stats that jump out to me really come from the second half, particularly Maris allowing just 80 yards during that span, and overall in the contest, allowing the Wildcats to convert just 1 for 11 on third down opportunities. That's a sign to me that they're playing some excellent assignment football, and it's always good to get a win. They stopped that losing slide.
All right, Phil, let's go to that interview with Jim Desautel and Kevin Stark down at the McCann Center.
I'm pleased to be joined now by Jim Desautel and Kevin Stark. And guys, thanks so much for slotting us in on a very busy Tuesday for you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely. And what a fitting week, actually, to have two defensive players joining us. Usually we've had one offensive guy, one defensive guy in the past Tuesdays. But take me through the stages of the Davidson game. This was a win that put an end to a losing skid for you guys.
After losing to Jacksonville and Georgetown and Bucknell and Dayton, our whole goal was your goal is to win, not lose. And we focused really hard on our technique and our jobs as like positions. And everyone did their job. And when you do your job, you win.
As D linemen, we get double teamed a lot. We get different all kind of blocks, and we feel like we're not doing anything. But then when we watch film, it turns out that we were big factors of why we actually won the game.
It doesn't matter where we start from. We look at it as like our challenge. Whether we start off at the 5-yard line and they're going in and trying to score, we're going to go out there and we're going to stop them wherever they put the ball out there. So that's definitely the attitude that we take, and we take it as a challenge every time we go out into the field.
And the signs in the James J. McCann Center weight room for the football team during your weeks during the lift say, "Crush a Camel." How exactly do you plan to beat Campbell, a Pioneer League foe?
Georgetown was like motivation for us. You know, we didn't like what the score was, and it made us angry. So we came out strong against Jacksonville, came out strong against Davidson. You know, we want to remain the best defense in this conference, and we'll do whatever it takes to keep that.
And our job Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is to get our assignments down and be ready for Saturday. And when it's Saturday, it's full go. It's ready. You know your job, and you got to do it.
In the last two home contests that Marist has had, of course against Georgetown and Jacksonville, both games that your squad dropped, do you view this upcoming Saturday as a way to right the ship?
Yeah, definitely. You don't like to lose at home. You want to have a home. You want to be able to win at home, and it definitely gives us more motivation to win since we lost our previous two home games. But we're going to go out there and do our jobs, and we're going to come up with a victory.
And earlier this summer during the preseason training camp, Marist fans first heard the nickname Jimmy J in reference to you, Jim, on a video posted on GoRedFoxes.com. Can you give us some insight into how exactly you got that nickname?
Yeah, when I got in here as a freshman, the upperclassmen started calling me Jimmy J, and then everyone started calling me Jimmy J, and that's just stuck with me over the last 4 years, and I'll have people outside of football just call me Jimmy J, and that's just kind of been like my identity, so it's definitely stuck with me, and I introduce myself as Jimmy J, like all the coaches call me Jimmy J, and all the players.
Now let's turn to this weekend's game against Campbell University. Matt, we're seeing a balanced offense this week. They rush about 180 yards a game, pass about 180 yards a game. What do you think Marist defense has to focus on against the Camels?
I think they need to focus on the rushing game for Campbell. Campbell, in their 2 wins on the season, has rushed for 325 yards per average. So that really shows that when they win, they rush the ball very, very effectively. But this Marist defense has been very strong, as we'll talk about a little later in the program. So Marist defense will be up to the rushing task of the Camels.
I think there are no illusions here that Marist needs to feel confident coming into this contest. They captured a 42-14 win last year and a 34-14 victory back in the 2009 season. Now, specifically examining the Fighting Camels offense, they're led by transfer quarterback Braden Smith, who played 2 years formerly at Southern Methodist University. He is now at Campbell, and he is leading this option offense. Now, what's interesting about Smith is that he's not too keen on the pull or literally in the option offense running. He's much more adept at just simply passing the ball out of that option offense. And I think Marist, their personnel, given that they have such a quick defense, really will allow them to match up well with the Camels. Now, we'll have to see how that plays out. Marist did, in fact, capture a victory against Sacred Heart, who similarly runs the option offense. I think these guys have been getting after it all week, and it could be a very, very good matchup for this quick Marist defense.
We are now joined by senior running back Calvin McCoy. Calvin, this weekend the running game finally got going for you guys. What can you attribute that to from practice this week, the week before the Davidson game?
I mean, just hard work. We were working hard in practice, and everything seemed to be clicking. We changed our steps in a few plays, and we really focused on like hitting our holes and whatnot, and we feel like it really helped us get our run game together.
And Calvin, as we speak, the team averages 57 yards rushing per game. Do you feel there's still room for improvement overall as a unit?
I mean, when you average 57 yards per game, there's definitely room for improvement. I think last week we had 140, 142, 143, and it helped us really control the game, you know what I mean? We don't have to pass every down. You know, it helps a lot. It helps our offense out, and it helps our defense out. They're not always on the field, and they're not as tired.
For you personally, you broke out for 83 yards this game. It was a season high. What went well for you in this game?
I just told, like, not only the O-line, but everyone felt like, yo, we're brothers and we're all in this together. Like, I kept saying that, like, every play. And I felt like everyone just had each other's back, and we just grinded the whole game. And, like, every yard, like, I don't want to even attribute all those yards to me. I say, like, we did those together, and, like, we did a great job as a team.
And a few weeks ago, we had the chance to have Fed Selston inset with us, and he spoke about the offensive line. Now, from your perspective, looking back to last year, this is sort of a patchwork group that was put together with Fed and then 4 freshmen at the time. It's more of a veteran group now. Do you notice any differences with those 5 down linemen?
Yeah. I mean, like, we went through a whole bunch of rotations. Like, some guys got injured, some guys, like, transferred to defense. But, like, the core that we have are the core that, like, can play and needs to be on the field right now, and they're making things happen, so that's really good.
We also talked to Fed about going up against a tough defensive line that we have as a Marist team. What's it like for you going up against that defensive line in practice?
You practice against the best. It's the best thing you could do. You know what I'm saying? If you go against the best possible scout team you can every week, it gives you a better look for when you actually get on the field and face like guys as good or better than them.
What's that like on the field with these guys? David Toriola lining up, of course, at nose tackle, and with the ends, Jimmy J and Terrence Fede. Are these guys good? Are they getting after you every play?
No, I think they suck. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, those guys work so hard, and the looks they give us is ridiculous. Like, it's tremendous. Like, they attribute so much to our success on the field, and like, we thank them for that.
When you first came here as a freshman, you played behind Bo Okoye, who, of course, was a very big running back here at Marist. What did you learn from him before he graduated?
Bo was great. I did play behind Bo. He was always there. He always showed up every day. That's one thing I learned about him. Like, my freshman year and even sophomore year was filled with injuries. And I seen Bo. Bo never missed a practice. He never missed anything. He always showed up. Pain, sickness, no matter what. And I think that's the biggest lesson I got from Bo.
Not to rush your senior year along at all here, but looking down the tunnel, so to speak, with these last 4 or 5 weeks, what do you want to accomplish while you have the chance to still wear the red and white? What's your end game, so to speak?
I just want to go out with a bang. We started our season off kind of poorly. I just want to get on a roll, keep this momentum, and just win out throughout the season, show them that like we have what it takes to turn the season around and win some games.
All right, Calvin, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and we're going to be right back.
What if we told you there was a Division I college football team
based 90 minutes north of New York City
That competes in a national conference.
with some of the nation's top academic institutions?
This is the Marist Football Network. Red Fox fans, the Marist Football Network will be covering and promoting Marist football like never before through video, print, Facebook, and Twitter. The MFN crew will be fieldside before all home games prior to kickoff, previewing that weekend's contest. Check out everything Marist Football at www.maristfootballnetwork.com. Welcome back to the Marist Football Network's pregame show for this weekend's game against Campbell University. Now let's send it over to Amanda for this week's keys to the game.
Thanks, Mike. All right, last week against Davidson, the Red Foxes didn't have a single turnover. Anytime that happens, really good game, right? Well, it's an especially big deal for the Red Foxes. Let me take you back to 2 weeks ago when the Jacksonville University Dolphins came into Tenney Stadium. The Red Foxes wanted to go fishing, but it ended up that the Dolphins had fox meat for dinner, forcing 5 turnovers. The coaching staff decided to go back to basics. Last week when we talked to wide receiver Bart Lenahan, he told us that the offensive squad was focusing on holding onto the football and avoiding unnecessary hits. If they can continue to care for the football like Phil cares for his BlackBerry, we shouldn't have to worry about losing this game to turnovers. In 2011, the Marist offense has had a bad habit of getting off to a slow start. When Matt eats more donuts per game than your team scores in the first quarter all season, you know you have a problem. Now, they had a strong showing last week. They scored that 49-yard field goal, but look for some more early scoring. We've also seen a more balanced offensive attack in the past few weeks, and the running backs are loving the attention. Ryan Deneville and Calvin McCoy should get a few more handoffs if the Red Foxes can score early. The Marist defense is ranked number 1 in the PFL, and last week they showed their peers why. They held Davidson to 226 yards of total offense and 0 offensive touchdowns. The Red Foxes have been doing their homework and sticking to their assignments during the game. This bunch is a force to be reckoned with. Last week, we saw 3 seniors really step up, including cornerback Jaquan Bryant, who was awarded with a College Football Performance Award for his efforts last week. He had 4 solo tackles in the second half, 2 of which were for a loss. We also saw linebackers Ryan Cronin and Alexander Killian have 6 tackles apiece. Now that's really impressive, but they're going to have to be prepared because Campbell has a lot of weapons that they can get into the end zone. Last week, Eric Smith and Jordan Kramer scored a combined 18 points versus Butler. But if Marist can continue following their assignments and wrapping up their tackles, they should be able to shut down the Campbells. There have been 2 contests to date at Tenney Stadium, and Marist is still winless in Poughkeepsie. The only common opponent between these 2 teams is Jacksonville, who slaughtered the Camels 57-21 when they played them. Marist was able to keep their game close, which is why I'm picking them for this week. After being embarrassed by Georgetown in their home opener and defeating themselves against Jacksonville, the home team is coming off a win for the first time in over a month. Now that they have a little bit of momentum, look for them to come away from this game with their 3rd W. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Amanda. Now, Phil, let's talk about the offense that Campbell's going to be bringing to Tenney Stadium on Saturday. They run the option, which we've seen before in Sacred Heart, but how is the defense going to be able to handle that this weekend?
I think, Mike, the most important thing as far as an actual formation, what we're looking at during the option offense being run by Campbell here, similar as you mentioned to what the Pioneers of Sacred Heart did, it's an unbalanced line at times when there's literally one tackle over to a particular side that then forces the offense's wide receivers to go out directly and block the corners in the secondary. I think that, really allows Campbell to create some separation, but now in favor for the Red Foxes, their very speedy defensive unit is going to allow them to match up very, very well with their halfbacks and the quarterback, Braden Smith, regardless of which way they decide to pull or push or shovel the ball.
Now, Matt, let's talk about the defense, which we said earlier is still the best defense in the Pioneer Football League. They are looking at this option that Campbell's going to be bringing to Tenney Stadium. How do you think they're going to go about it?
Well, right now, Marist has a lot of confidence in their defense. 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville, Marist did allow 21 points, but 14 of those points came after the offense turned the ball over inside their own 10-yard line. So the defense did play very well, allowing only 1 touchdown. And then in last week's contest against Davidson, they gave up 9 points, but one of those touchdowns was a 94-yard punt return, so it wasn't even on the defensive unit. So that shows that in the last 2 weeks, Marist has only allowed 1 touchdown. The defense really has allowed only 1 touchdown. So they're really flying high, and they have a lot of confidence going into this week's game against Campbell, who does have a very balanced attack.
And to keep the Wildcats to 9 points as well, which is the Wildcats are a Pioneer Football League opponent, I think has to be a morale booster for this defensive unit. It's a part of this team that has played very well through the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season, but the results weren't always yielded with a W. Finally, they got the victory, ended the losing skid. I think it has to give them some great confidence moving forward.
No, Matt, the score last weekend was 13-9 Marist, but that was a touchdown and 2 field goals. What can Marist do to turn those field goals into touchdowns in the red zone?
Marist has been having a little bit of trouble with their red zone offense. They score right under 70% of the time, which isn't all that terrible, but they only convert for a touchdown 56% of the time. And that just shows that Marist has to have a little bit more confidence inside the red zone and have a little bit more balance with the rushing game and with the passing game. The players are there with Tommy Riley or Ryan Denenbeal or Calvin McCoy, and then of course they have the big targets on the wide receivers with Bart Lenahan and Kevin Fitzpatrick. So it's just a matter of utilizing their tools the right way inside those 20 yards.
I think, Mike, if Marist is able to get the running game going successfully, it will do wonders for them. Last season in the matchup versus Campbell, Marist was able to really extend their wide receivers. James Almakia caught 11 balls for over 150 yards, and Mike Rios reeled in an 80-yard touchdown as well. Unfortunately, those guys are not here for Marist. I think if they control the ball, they can use what they do have personnel-wise with their wide receivers.
All right, Phil, let's just have some final thoughts. What are your predictions for this weekend?
Certainly, I would favor Marist in the contest. The more specifically, if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty, the personalities of these two teams, the mascot for the University of Campbell is his name is Gaylord. He's a camel. I think when you compare their camel to Shooter's by far the more intimidating mascot. We cannot confirm or deny if the camel will be making a trip with the team up to Poughkeepsie, but it probably would not end well for him if he did come, because I'm afraid of Shooter at times.
And just to piggyback on that camel talk, there are 2 different types of camel. The first is the dromedary or the Arabian camel, which has 1 hump. The other is the Bactrian camel, which has 2 humps. This Campbell team is coming to Poughkeepsie as a Bactrian camel. The 2 teams have only met 2 times before, and Marist has won both games easily. So it will be a Bactrian Gaylord the camel coming to Poughkeepsie.
All right, Matt, thank you for that. We're all set for today. Follow us on Twitter. Go to www.maristfootballnetwork.com. We will be at the game on Saturday, shooting our live show right before the game at 11, and kickoff is set for high noon. We'll see you on Saturday.